I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Victoria.
And in today's video, we're going to be talking about I'm anxious and he's avoidant.
A very common combination.
Welcome to everybody's dating life.
Just about.
And every relationship.
It's really, really common.
Yeah, it happens a lot. And, you know, a lot more information is getting out there about attachment theory and dating. And that's great to see, especially when you see professionals explaining things and giving information. Be careful who you get that stuff from. You know, always look to people that have degrees and educations. Like there's a lot of great therapists out there that are trained in this stuff. Be careful with other advice because it tends to be really immature and very toxic.
Exactly. And if you are interested on a one-on-one coaching session with us, you can head to our website and book from there.
Yeah, easy to do. We'll be happy to help you. You know, we're constantly seeing the anxious avoidant trap in breakups, right? And if you don't know what we're talking about, you know, we have maybe 1,000 videos that talk about attachment theory in it. But everybody attaches and bonds differently with their caregivers, and that comes out in their romantic relationships. And it comes out in the needs that they have for their partner. So you're likely dating somebody who has almost exact opposite needs that you do. And it leads to a lot of conflict.
Exactly. And psychologically, what happens is oftentimes you're trying to repair or fix or repeat dynamics that you had in your childhood, in your adult romantic relationships. So it's almost like this endless pursuit for love.
Yeah, you get stuck in this cycle unconsciously over and over again, which is why I did the workbooks and the creative healing course, is to help you break that cycle and become more confident, heal those issues. You know, the more you work at it and the more insightful you become, the more you're going to be able to navigate those complexities that come up and that often lead to breakups.
Right, and people ask all the time, can someone with an anxious avoidant style be in a relationship with someone who's more avoidant? And that's a resounding yes, it can work. You know, every one of us human beings has a different style of attaching, and our descriptors that we have, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, they only cover a bit of what we normally see. People are so complex, and there are ways of working things out with communication, with relationship skills, which we try to provide you all the time.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need somebody that is going to be the same attachment style as you. When you start to learn about yourself and what triggers you and your partner and what triggers them, if you can communicate and show some patience for that person, a lot of those issues can be worked through. You just want to see that somebody is mature enough and cares enough to work through those difficult times.
Yes, the effort.
Yeah. So we got an email coaching today that I thought I would share. That's going to cover some of the stuff we're talking about now. This is from a woman in her early 30s dating a guy just a little bit younger than her. And she starts by saying, "Hi, Craig. Thank you for your help. I'm anxious, attachment, he's avoidant, but he has no idea." How often do you hear that?
Very often.
That the avoidant doesn't know they're avoidant.
Yeah, and oftentimes because these are the very mechanisms that they have in place to protect themselves. You know, so being able to work on your attachment style is also facing what hurt you for you to develop that style in the first place.
Yep.
You know, so it can feel really scary in the beginning and counterintuitive.
All right, so let's keep going. Let's call this guy Herman. Why not Herman?
Sure.
That's a good name.
Let's go with
Strong name. Herman and I met at work in the spring of 23. He and I flirted, and he gave me his number. But we didn't talk or hook up until after that gig ended. I was still engaged to a man, but kept seeing Herman a few times before I decided to leave my fiance because I wasn't in love with him for years. Okay.
I have a lot of side eyes to the camera today.
Yeah. So sometimes when people have attachment issues, and especially if they're anxious, they want to line somebody up because they don't like the idea of being alone. It's scary, it's difficult, and so, they kind of look for excuses to find somebody else and then leave.
Right. And I think there's also a worry here that telling her fiancé the truth would initiate her own abandonment, which might be keeping her from being honest with him.
Yep. And when she found somebody that she felt a connection with, she thought, time to go. Mm-hmm. All right, so here's what we see often. The first 2 months were perfect. Oh, it was just so perfect. It often is, right? Yeah. We saw each other 3 times a week, talked every day, and the sex was incredible. But when we started getting close, he brought up, without me asking, that he wasn't ready for a relationship.
The old bait and switch.
Mm-hmm. He was ready when you were engaged.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not engaged anymore? I'm not ready for this relationship.
Right.
If she was in the relationship, he would be like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. I could see you being Mrs. Herman.
Right. And there is this whole stereotype of the person who goes after married people. And I think that's very real.
Yep.
There's somebody else in the background that's occupying your partner or potential partner's attention, meaning that you can only get so close.
Yep, exactly. And so now she ends it with the fiance. She's completely available, and I'm not ready for a relationship.
Mm-hmm. And the timing, too, after 2 months. Now it's starting to get a little bit more real.
Yeah, he didn't make it quite far. Usually they make it further than that.
Yeah, normally they do, yeah.
So that tells you he's probably really avoidant.
Yeah.
Right? If he's at 2 months and he's already like, well, find the ejection seat.
Yeah. I will say, I think it's good he's being honest with her, early on. Some people will not be ready for a relationship, but continue stringing you along until one day they completely shut you out. So he's at least verbalizing some things here.
Yeah. Of course, he waited till after she left her fiance.
Yeah, right.
Some people might say, though, that it was like karma for her, though, to leave the fiance, because maybe he's watching the channel now.
Yeah.
He's going to be watching this video like, wait a minute.
Wait, these things are lining up.
This is my fiance who left me for another guy. All right. I said, let's take it slow. We're still new. We talked every day and continued to see each other. But I started to notice a hot-cold, push-pull dynamic with him.
Let's talk about pressure and the avoidant attachment style. So one thing I can imagine he is experiencing is the pressure of you leaving a fiance for him. Mm-hmm. What does that mean about his role in your life now? Does he have to step it up and now take the role of, I'm going to marry you, or this relationship is very serious and we have to plan a future together? Those with avoidant attachment styles do not like having obligation. Do not like having that commitment and the idea of a future. Doesn't mean that it should never happen, but this is also 2 months in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can see him being, feeling cornered in this situation.
Yep. And there's a chance or a possibility that because she just left her fiance, now she's almost going to want this level of commitment that you would expect from a fiance. Because a lot of times people almost expect the new partner to be at the same level as the old partner.
I call it the copy-paste.
That's funny. He would pursue and be happy with me for weeks. Then start to back off, and I had to chase for a month. Then he would say, I'm not ready for this. I can't give you what you need. Oh boy, this is like copy-paste here from the avoidant. Copy-paste excuses. I'm not ready for this. I can't give you what you need. You're so important to me. I like you, and I'm attracted to you, but I need to focus on my career. Boy, every one of those is like the excuses you hear the avoidant say.
It's like they have a little handbook.
It's really bizarre.
They're humming through it.
How people always say the same things. Isn't it unusual?
Yeah.
It's shocking how often people tend to say the same excuses. Like, nobody comes up with original ones. It's like they reach into the universe and the universe tells them all to say the same thing.
Well, I think it's also telling of attachment styles in general. You know, if there is a group of people who share these types of symptoms or types of ways of relating to other people, it makes sense that, you know, a group of people would also feel like, you know, I'm not enough for you, you know, you deserve more, these types of comments coming up.
I imagine it's like in other jobs where you hear the same things come up every day, the same problems. Like if you're a police officer and you're arresting somebody, you always hear the same excuses. These aren't my pants, right? Like, like everybody you arrest always gives you an excuse. What? I've never seen that gun in my life. It's got your fingerprints on it. Those aren't my fingers. You know what I mean? It's always... There's certain careers where you probably hear the same excuses over and over again.
And probably where you say the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they're constantly repeating the Miranda rights, you know? So each relationship, it's like, oh, we've gotten to the point where now I'm feeling the same things that I do once we reach this point. So let me take out my script.
Yeah. I'd like to hear some more original excuses from avoidants.
Okay.
If they could maybe step it up out there. If you're avoidant and you've got an excuse, I'd like to hear it. Something different. You know, something new. I hear these same ones.
My cat has eczema, so I don't think this relationship is going to work.
I like that. Like, my dog hurt his toe.
He has a...
I actually had a friend that used that excuse one time. Couldn't come to a movie because his dog hurt his toe. I have to stay home to be with the dog. I'm like, what's the difference? The dog is just going to be laying down anyway. It just hurt its, like, nail.
They'll be together.
He just didn't want to go.
No, I think that was a valid excuse.
You don't know.
You
this
want
friend.
Original excuses and then you complain when they're original?
It wasn't a good one. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm telling you, it was bad. All right, let's keep going. People are like, what is going on today? Okay. I always told him we'll take it slow, and that the right relationship isn't a burden. It's an enhancement to someone's life, just as they are. Just try it. Just try it. What do you think that feels like to the avoidant?
It sounds like, you know, she's trying to sell him on this. And it's interesting because, you know, some of what she's saying here, it makes me wonder, well, did that not apply with your fiance? You know, of course, there's going to be times in a relationship where it is tough. And, you know, she didn't feel in love in those years. Okay, so let's talk about it. How was it a burden? And how would you work that out? You know, a lot of times people think that your relationship issues are just going to be magically solved in your next one, but that's not the case. A lot of times these patterns are cyclical. They repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah. To just try it reminds me of when I was a kid. I was like such a picky eater. And like people would be like, just try this thing that you'll never eat in your life. And I'd be like, nope, not doing it. Just try it.
Yeah. And the reason why I think is avoidant is also because he's tried it. You know, the avoidant gets to a point where they give up on being vulnerable with other people. They give up with, you know, showing their needs and their wants because they were taught by trying it that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
That's the fear.
Let's keep going. Eventually, my boundaries got less and less to where I was fine with being exclusive friends with benefits. So she started to really tolerate what she didn't really want. My anxious attachment was always triggered, and I felt physically and mentally ill. And it showed in my actions, texting too much, seeing if he was home, stalking his social media. And this happens a lot. And so if you did those things, you're not alone. You know, a lot of people do the same things. And, you know, that's why we say you got to work on these issues, because it's not good for you to live like that. It's very painful. You don't feel good about it. You feel like disappointed in yourself and you don't like the way you're behaving. You know what I mean? So it really wears you down.
Yeah, you don't feel like yourself. And I'm glad that she gained awareness of it, that it was affecting her physical and mental health.
Yeah.
You know, you start to notice that there's things in your body that are coming up. Maybe you start having palpitations. Maybe you start having racing thoughts. You know, so I'm glad that she drew attention to that in her own life and starting to say, okay, wait a minute, I'm not myself.
Okay, yep. In November, after he bailed on a date and was consistently inconsistent with his words and his actions, I set a boundary that I didn't like that. He called it quits. Well, she was tolerating it for a bit. I think it was healthy for her to eventually stand up and say, look, this is too much. I'm not getting enough here. He was being too inconsistent with his words and his actions, and she didn't like it. And then he said, okay, then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And the boundary here is that what he was providing was not up to her needs. It wasn't meeting her needs. So with a boundary, you can't say, it's my boundary that you work harder for this relationship. No. You can say, these are the things that I would like and need, and you can ask for anything you want in a relationship.
Yeah.
But when you see a partner repeatedly telling you no in more ways than one, or ignoring your requests, at that point you can say, it's my boundary, and I'm going to create distance here. So it sounds like that's what she's doing, even though ideally she would want him to do more effort. She would want him to invest more.
Yeah, she didn't want him to call it quits. She was just hoping he would step it up.
Yeah.
The breakup was awful for me. But to my surprise, he was distraught. He was sobbing, told me he cared about me deeply and doesn't want to lose me, but can't give me what I deserve. Another of the famous avoidant quotes. This guy, he's got them all. Really, I mean, I hear that one a lot too. I can't give you what you deserve. And they mean that. And I think it's a genuine, sincere guilt that they have, that they feel like, I really do care about this person, and I know that not giving them what they want is hurting them.
Yeah, and I think it goes really deep. You know, I think it goes to a place of, I'm not good enough for you, in the sense of, I can't love you the way that you need to be loved. And a lot of people see this as a BS excuse, but I believe it.
No, yeah, I do too. They really mean that. And I was talking with a friend of mine recently, and I could see that was coming out with them, that they're not feeling good enough about who they are and what they have to offer. And I was kind of surprised to hear it from them, but it made me realize how avoidant they were.
And it's also on your end to believe them too. You know, what would it mean if you did believe that they weren't able to meet those needs, rather than there's someone who's like withholding their affection from you, or someone who's intentionally neglecting you? You know, those two things are very different.
Yep. I pleaded that he didn't have to do this, but even though he was in pain, he still ended it. Instead of no contact, we stayed friends because he wanted that, and I wanted to keep him in my life. We still called and texted every day, just like in this situationship, just no sex. He told me no one has ever cared for him like this, and I'm the most important person in his life, and I think he means that. You know, and it's so confusing. You're like, wait a minute. You're telling me nobody's cared about you this way, and I'm the most important person in your life, but you don't want our relationship anymore? It's like, what?
It makes no logical sense.
It doesn't.
That's probably one of my all-time favorite Margaret quotes. This isn't logical.
You're looking for logic.
Yeah.
There is none.
Yeah.
She'd say that a lot. All right. However, I still wanted to be with him, and every time I brought that up, he said he wasn't ready, it's bad timing, or he would say he doesn't know what he wants. Okay.
And this is the risk that she took. You know, in separating from her fiance, this is the risk, you know, that you would be vulnerable to someone else and it can fall through. I wonder if she would have still ended it with her fiance had she not been so connected with this person very quickly.
Yep.
You know, breakups, separations, making that decision, it's a really big one.
Yeah, and I wonder why she left that ex. My guess is that he was more anxious than her, and so she lost the attraction for him. Just speculating. We don't have a lot of info, but that would be my guess on why she's saying she wasn't in love with him for a long time.
It could also be the opposite, where she tolerated a lot of neglect. So now this person in 2 months was showing her a lot until she became more available. Could be.
Yeah, it's true. We don't have a lot of info there, kind of speculating. So if you're watching this video, leave a comment. In the middle of February, I finally told him I want no contact. It hurts too much to be around him. And this is one of the main reasons that we say, don't tolerate being friends with an ex, because it is so painful. It hurts to, be taken like notches lower, where you're going from being somebody's partner to a platonic friend, and so much of the closeness and affection that you get from them is now gone.
And it's really hard to
It feels like a demotion.
It does. Yeah, like a de-escalation.
Yeah.
And it's hard to heal and accept the breakup when that happens. Because you are always going to have the intentions that you have, and they're going to be, in this place of creating distance constantly. So it's not a good dynamic to be caught up in.
It hurts too much to be around him, and I can't keep denying what I want just to have him in my life. He understood no texting, calling, but I told him no social media either. Woof! She's cutting him off. She's cutting him off all the way. It's going to be tough on him.
Yeah.
That's going to make it hard for him.
But I also don't blame her, because she does need to protect herself, and she has a right to that. And it sounds like she's still probably healing from that situation with her fiance. So we don't know, but that's what I would guess if she's jumping from one relationship to the next. You need some breathing time, some time to process the events that have just happened. And really being alone and being able to sit with those emotions, like regain your independence, is a great way to do that.
It sunk in, and he was hurt. His birthday is coming up, and he only invited me and his closest friends. He told me he wants me there, but I just don't know if it will ruin chances of me getting him back. What do I do if he contacts me? Is there a chance of us getting back together? I'm going to therapy and focusing on improving myself, but I still want him back. Okay, well, I wouldn't agree to go to that birthday party. And I would say, I'm sorry, I hope you have a great day with your friends, but, you gotta leave me alone and respect my decision here unless you want to work this out. Because if he thinks you're still going to be friends with him, in this situation, he might not do what it takes to fight to make this work. He'll just keep her as a platonic friend. She'll be miserable, and he'll feel like, I can still get what I want. I'm content, and you're going to be devastated.
Right. And those with avoidant attachment styles often take this offer and run with it because it's what works for them. They're able to have this de-escalated relationship where they can feel safe, where they can be themselves. There's no obligation. There's no commitment. Meanwhile, you are feeling insecure in the relationship, uncertain about where it's going, and it creates this unequal dynamic where both of you are not, one party's getting what they need and the other party is not. Yeah, so if I was you, I would not agree to friendship or hanging out as friends and saying, look, if you change your mind and you'd like to see where it goes, I'm fine with us taking it slow again, but I can't just be platonic friends with you. It just hurts. It's too painful for her. And she's made that very clear all throughout this email, that for her, it's not going to work. And sometimes people can navigate like that. I had a guy on the call this week that his situation was very different, and he's trying to navigate it, but she wasn't an ex. She was like somebody new. So, every situation is so different, and every breakup is so different. I think, if he really feels like he's lost you, and he's got to think about all the things that he told her. I've never had somebody care about me the way you do. And the things that he was telling her about how great she is. It could hit him hard enough where he's like, I got to do something. It usually takes the avoidance some time, and you don't want to rush back with them. You want them to show you they can make a real sincere effort to change and grow. But if he does, I think you could turn this around, because I think there was a lot of good things that he saw in her and that he feels like he'll lose if he just lets her go. I agree. And I want to say really great job in being able to set some boundaries here. For her being able to say, no, this is not what I want. This isn't working for me. I'm going to have to create space here to protect myself. I think that's amazing. And I also think that's sending him the message that she can make decisions for herself. She can speak up for herself. She can create that distance when she needs it.
Yep.
So I wonder if he, after that separation with her and the fiance, is feeling that pressure. And the more you create space, the more it's sending the message of, I'm working through this. You know, I'm not going to put all of this pressure from this past relationship on you. I'm going to work it out and be okay independently, give myself time here, and then we can meet each other as equals on the other side.
Yep, lot to think about for her, but I think, you know, she's got to be consistent with setting this boundary here, and the loss that he's going to experience could be enough for him to really want to change and work through this. All right, so if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.